Hello, Stronger Together. Give me just a moment here. Let's make sure we are up and running. Think that we are, though. Welcome. I see some of you popping in. Say hello. Shannon and Chelsea, welcome. Let me know how the weather is where you guys are at, because I think we have 10.5 inches out here right now. Joni, welcome. That weather is something else right now for sure. But then it got bright and sunny. Thank you, Megan. Me too. This was one of the Tucson finds that I decided to keep. All right, let's jump right into this. Auric Field, your first boundary of defense. This is really the first place within your energetic field or any of your energy where this is your first indicator, your first communication, both to others and also from them to you. This is the first place that it happens. So that auric field kind of extends, like if you stick your arms out as far as you can reach, it's about that far around you is where your entire auric field lies. Now, there are layers, though, to the auric field that are different. So within them, there are actually 12. There are 12 different auric layers. I've touched on a few of them within some of the boundary lives information, certainly in Stronger Together. You guys have a ton of information on the boundaries. But the easy way to remember is that each of those main auric field layers, they all correspond to a chakra as well. So that first auric field layer, which is also the physical boundary, corresponds to your root chakra. So it does a lot of the same information, but from a silent or energetic communication out to the external world is what your root chakra does. So when you think root chakra, I want you to really think your survival, but also your physicality too. So when we're talking about that first auric field or the physical boundary, this is where you communicate to the external world, what do I fear? Or perhaps even what makes me angry that will send me into a flight, fright, or freeze or fawn response as well. So one thing that's so important about the energetics of the auric field, which is, in my opinion, the best known of the energetic organs that we have, is that if you can perceive fear, but you can't perceive anger, then you're going to have a really hard time recognizing when someone else is angry as well. You'll see and recognize very quickly when they're fearful of something, but you'll have a difficult time recognizing their anger, in which response, when their anger levels up and may even come to rage because you're kind of not reading the room, you're going to be very blindsided by that energy, and it's going to kind of hit you out of nowhere, and you'll be like, oh my God, why did they get so mad? I don't understand why they got so angry so quick. What happened? I totally missed what the issue is. So when we're running certain auric field patterns like that, when we disassociate from our feelings, like anger, for instance, it's not just that we don't recognize or acknowledge our own anger. So a lot of you individuals who kind of fall into those more passive aggressive patterns of, I'm not angry. Are you really not angry? Or are you choosing to disassociate from your own anger? It's not just your own internal disassociation that can become a problem within that auric field. It's also the fact that you're going to have a more difficult time reading other people's anger when they start to hit their anger points as well. And then the flip side of that, if you are hyper-focused and very, very aware of emotions like fear, if you're a very fearful person, you always kind of go into those flight, fight, freeze, all of those root chakra responses, then you will be hyper fixated and be like, you will project almost your own hyperactive fear response to the external world. So you will also kind of move into that, I assume that the other individual is fearful of the same things that I'm scared of. And then you'll again be blindsided when they're like, what is your problem? Why are you losing your whole mind right now? It's not a big deal. I'm not scared. Don't project your feelings on me. I'm good. So let me know if that's resonating. Are those explanations resonating before we move forward? Does it make sense, and can you feel it? This auric field, your energetic auric field, is really how you interact with nature and your natural surroundings. That can be with animals, that can be with plants, that can be with individuals, workplace environments. It's all of the things. Your auric field is your first line of how you interact with your natural world. So if you are running patterns within your auric field, those patterns are going to come in from the auric field and then move into typically the associated chakra or a couple of the associated chakras. So it can affect more than one because it's going to kind of just permeate inward. So like your most external layer is going to be out there in your, it's hard for me to explain the 12th auric field because it's really unique to everyone. This is really what I would consider the great sun. And also this is the auric field layer that I believe extends indefinitely. So it can live outside of that 6-foot space. You can send it to different times, universes. So I'm not going to touch the 12th auric field layer a whole lot. But outside of the 12th auric field, if we come back into the 11th, which is associated to the second transpersonal chakra, this is your connection to spirituality, God, ancestors, angels, spirit guides, all of those energies. That's going to extend out into that kind of 6-foot radius around you. But if your spiritual boundaries are violated, you're going to instantly feel that come in through those top chakras, those transpersonals, and then permeate, sometimes downward, even through the crown, which is really where you are coming into your purpose. Spirituality lives in the crown too, but it's really your spiritual purpose. Your soul mission is at that crown, coming into the third eye. How do you view the world? What do you see? Also your strategy. How do you strategize in the world? It can really affect how you vision or can see yourself within the world, how you see yourself within your workplace or your family unit. It can permeate down even further then into that throat chakra. How do you communicate? What is your style of communication? Perhaps your communication would shut down entirely, or the opposite, you would become overactive from a communication stance. And I think you're getting the drift. Heart chakra, 100% is that emotional boundary that we talk about a lot and is the 4th auric field layer around you. So it can truly, like one impact of a force or an interaction with someone else, you can really have that hit your external spiritual boundary from that 11th chakra and move right through into your chakras, down through each of them, extending all the way into that earth star as well, depending on how impactful the comment or the interaction is. A lot of that can really come into play with your auric field. So when you start to get those spidey senses are typically the perceptions within your auric field that are coming in. So you're already getting information coming in. It's kind of like little antennas hanging out there. So you start to see or feel or think like something's off. You can't quite pinpoint where it's off. Oftentimes you will hear Janessa and I say, where within your body do you feel it? A lot of you, when you tell me where within your body, you start to feel those shock bubbles, the trauma responses. If you say things like heart chakra, I'm instantly looking out in your 4th auric field layer in that emotional boundary to see if we have tears, rips, abrasions, a different color. It's interesting. Everybody perceives the auric field differently. Some of us can see auric fields. I say some of us, I'm not one of us. Mine is much more a clairsentient, claircognizant perception. So I can feel the colors, which it sounds really weird, but I feel the colors and the differences within that claircognizance and also the clairsentience, but it's not super visual for me. There are some people, though, that walk around that can literally visually with their 2 eyes see the auric fields around people and will see those permeations. So there's so many different ways to feel into how that auric field is being affected, but the easiest is to relate it into your body. We all in this life have very close interactions with our own body, our physical being. So if you can pinpoint which chakra meridian even you're feeling it in, you're going to get a really good indicator of which boundary or auric field you're having something go on in. Auric field can hold patterns too. So if you are running neglect is the way of life is a big one. Rachel can see them, Shannon, you're right. if you're running certain patterns like that, neglect patterns or abuse patterns, oftentimes those are going to exist in multiple layers, like your relational, which comes into play with your emotions as well. So that's sacral, that second and third auric field layers, but also your emotional boundary, which is related to your heart chakra. But if you can say, you know, like this interaction rocked me to the core and I feel it in my throat, you know that you're probably dealing with your third auric layer, which is very much coming into how do you communicate? How do you want to be talked to? How do you want to talk to other people? And you can release a lot of it almost by acknowledging the impact point. When you can acknowledge the impact and then request whatever happened to go ahead and release, and then just seal up. You can use the universal streams if any of you are following that. You can use crystals, of course, to seal it up. The selenite cleanse and sweep pattern that is in this group, also in Stronger Together, is great for cleaning up any of those impact points within the auric field and just closing those initial trajectories up too. Releasing of the patterns is going to be a little bit more intensive than just the selenite cleanse and sweep. There's a little bit more that goes into that, but you can really get a lot of indicators of, do you see a commonality of a pattern? So when you walk into a room and you try to speak up, does no one listen to you? Are they not paying attention? What's going on? If you're not being listened to, it's probably your fifth auric field layer that you're having an issue with, which is related to the throat chakra. Are you having difficulty forming lasting relationships? That could actually be a combination of things, but more than likely the heart chakra, but also your emotionality, your structure of relationships. So there can be a couple of boundaries, but you'll get a really good idea of which auric field layers are being affected based upon patterns or commonalities or trends that you see going on in your life with relationships specifically. So just to run through them first, let's just go through all 12, and then we're going to do a live healing. So we'll do a game to get to that, to see who's going to be the lucky winner of that live healing. But first, so let's just go through the 12 auric fields that we have and relate them to the chakras. So the very first one is that first chakra, which is our root. So that's our first auric field layer, is connected to the root. This is all about survival and physicality. The second auric field layer is related to the sacral chakra, which is all about that creativity and your emotions. So the emotional connection is actually in that sacral chakra, not the heart, which that's sometimes a shock to people. Your third auric field layer, and these extend out starting next to your body, moving outward. So as we move through these, we're going to move outward. Third auric field is associated to your solar plexus. This one is all about structure and mentality. How do you think? How do you position yourself through life? Sacral chakra has that direct line to the crown and also your brain. So your thought processes, but also your spiritual thought processes come into play with that solar plexus. Fourth auric field layer is also your emotional boundary, but this is your link to your heart chakra and all about those healing and relationships. Your fifth auric field is communication, linked to your throat chakra. Sixth is all about strategy and your vision. Where do you see yourself in life? Linked to your third eye. Seventh auric field is all about your spirituality and your purpose. What is your soul mission? This is your spiritual boundary that I talk about a lot. It's linked to your crown chakra. Then we would move up into your eighth chakra, which is all about mysticism. This is your shamanic chakra as well. This is the first transpersonal chakra. So you guys have probably heard that a lot. This is where your God switch lives. Moving out from that, we also have our 10th, which is ninth, which is your second transpersonal chakra, which is your collective communication with the oneness, God, and all other beings. That's your second transpersonal chakra. You also have direct link accesses within both of those transpersonals to your ancestors, angels, and spirit guides. So that is your 9th. Moving out from that, we have our 10th auric field, which this one is the Earth star. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So we drop down to 1 feet below the Earth into our Earth star, or our 10th auric field layer, which is our connection to nature. This is also ancestry lives here as well, in that Earth star chakra and that 10th auric field layer. Next is our 11th auric field, which this one is actually in your hands. This is where a lot of your Reiki masters, hands-on techniques or modalities, they're really using this specific auric field layer to command forces. This is where you move forces. A lot of individuals who are extraordinarily captivating speakers, you see them moving their hands all the time. They speak with their hands. People who have a lot of presence have a lot of hand motions that they typically have when they're speaking. They're naturally using this 11th auric field to project that information out to individuals within the room. That's why you see a lot of really great speakers or bosses or people in higher positions or people who are advocating for others. They're using their hands a lot, and they're directly using that 11th auric field layer to project that out to the audience and to the external world. If you think doctors and nurses who are just have amazing bedside manners, start paying attention to what they do with their hands. Even if they don't physically touch you, you can feel their presence and that connection and that love energy coming from them through their hand motions. They're very animated. They also may have very calming energies with that as well. So that 11th auric field is absolutely amazing, and it's one that you can literally start to play with and feel within yourself too. Next is I touched on a little bit. It's the 12th auric field, which I believe this actually extends indefinitely, which is why we have access to all information no matter where it is in time and space. I think this is the one that we project out when we astral travel as well, to both get information and send information as well. It looks different for everybody. When I see 12th chakra auric fields, they look very silvery blue to me. That's just how I see it as well. Yes, that is why I called 11. All right, so do those individual auric field layers make sense to you guys? Let me know. And which one do you connect with the most? In a 1 through 12. What do you feel like you have the most connection with? And does that make sense on how those auric fields kind of function for you in real life and not just kind of in a woo-woo sense as well? For me, I know I have a lot of focus on that heart chakra area, so certainly within the 4th auric field layer is where a lot of my patterns have lived that I've had to clean up, especially a lot of the family patterns that have gone on. They've really lived in that 4th auric field layer for me, and that's where a lot of my individual issues have been. But when you start to think about that, so my main patterns have permeated to the 4th. I don't see, or have not yet, probably jinx myself, have not seen a lot of patterns or issues within the 3rd, 2nd, or 1st of the auric field layers, which is a lot of that mentality, but also creativity and survival. The flight, freeze. I haven't seen a lot of issues there. So you also get kind of a good clue of like how far are the patterns hitting and coming through. Oddly, 3 feels the most in charge right now. Yes, structure and mentality. Shocking, Janessa, that you love structure as a 1. I also would be interested to see how many of these link up with the Enneagram personality structures too, and what they experience as well. Chelsea, throat, I think that's why I have a lot of issues there. Could be, yeah. So again, that communication, which, Chelsea, I would just ask you to engage. Is it communication of emotions? Is it communication of your thoughts? What type of communication? There'll be a stronger link there as well. It could even be communication with your spirituality and purpose. The throat chakra, and specifically that 5th auric field layer, is interesting, because I've never seen a pattern live just in the 5th auric field. that's just where it gets stuck. So that one's always interesting to me. Shannon, 4, healing in relationships. Yeah. And Megan, I think 1. And then which one was in the earth? 1 foot below. That's the Earth Star chakra, which is our 10th auric field layer. Yep. Staying grounded, staying in one place, Megan. I can see that one coming in for you. Yeah. So let me know if you guys have questions, though. I'm always available for questions. You can ask anything you want. Addictions oftentimes live within our 7th chakra of our spirituality and our purpose, but it can also live within our 9th, which is where we find harmony and peace within that too. So addictions typically live there. They also typically permeate and extend all the way down to the root chakra, also even the Earth Star, so they can permeate pretty far as well. Joni, yours might be cleaned up a little bit too. So I would just look for patterns that you can see within your life, because you had a session not too long ago. So yours might be all clean for the moment. Yeah, I can feel into that a little bit though for you too. All right. So now, not sure how many of us are on here because it's not showing me the number, but I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 22. Whoever guesses closest to it but does not go over is who is getting the free live healing. So guess your numbers 1 through 22. 1 through 22. Well, there's definitely something in all of us, Chelsea, for sure. But yes, I would say being heard, you could definitely see that within possibly the root. Emotions are connected more to the sacral. So it could also certainly be the sacral chakra as well, that we would be looking at more of that 2nd auric field layer to see what patterns are existing within that too. Morgan can't find us in Facebook. Let me see. I don't know if I can share it from here. Let me try. Ardell, I see 11. Megan, Valenti, 7. No one has guessed my exact number. Thank you, Chelsea, for dropping that. But we're close. We are close. I'll give you just a couple more minutes for anyone else. Whew, good. I'm glad it went where it should. Yeah, I think Chelsea just dropped it in Voxer. So that's a good topic, though. That is one of the perks of being in the Stronger Together community, because we have a Voxer group where each of them can connect with each other in between sessions. Also with us as well. They get direct links to the live, so they don't miss them typically. Morgan, guess a number between 1 and 22. Whoever comes closest to my number but doesn't go over is going to get a free live healing. I'm also here for questions, too. No hints. I gave no one hints. A number between 1 and 22. I'll wait for you, and then we will select the winner, because we're close, but no one has guessed the exact number yet. I think. Let me scroll up and just make sure. Nope. What's your number, Morgan? If you want a free healing, no pressure. No pressure if you do not. All right. All right, the numbers are in. My number was 8. I think that looks like Megan Valenti, who guessed 7. Let me know if I missed anybody, but the number was 8. Megan Valenti, let me know if you're still here. And we will get to work if you are. Yay for the other Megan. So many Megans. Megan Valenti, are you here? If not, we're going to have to run this game again. Here, perfect. All right, Megan, what do you want to work on? What's a topic that you want to jump into? Where's somewhere that you may have struggled, or if you connected with one of these auric field layers, where do you want to clean up? drop in the chat. Where do you want to focus? Could be a relationship, could be work, could be your purpose, could just be one of these auric fields that you want to play with or get information and feedback on. And anyone else joining, feel free to drop questions too. It doesn't have to be about the auric field. You guys can drop questions about anything you want. Relationships. All right, so let's just check in. Just take a nice deep breath in, Megan. Exhaling slowly. I just want you to go ahead and affirm your own spirit, your higher self, who you truly are. And then also affirm all of your positive helping spirits, ancestors, angels, spirit guides, from each of those divine essences that are going to help you through this and who are always with you. And then let's finally affirm that divine spirit, God, universe, whatever you call that unconditional love energy. Affirm your connection to that energy. Then I want you just to come right into the center of your heart chakra. I call it the God spot. This is teachings from Cindy Dale. So just come right into the center of that heart chakra. Chakras are kind of a big sphere, and the outer wheel, the outside of it, is what contains the patterns, the programming. So the less reputable information, we'll call it. But if you go right into the center, that's where you get the legitimate information, the stuff that is true at a soul level. So go right into the center of that. And I want you just to feel the peace, the acceptance, and the love that lives there, the connection. It's usually like a whole supportive community within that. And then I'm just getting information back on this, Megan. We're going back to about 2 years old in this lifetime is the first instance. And it lives within your fifth chakra of communication. You may have, if you can't connect with the 2-year-old instance that happened, you may be able to see the pattern through your family patterns moving forward. But there was a dynamic of you were hurt, you weren't heard when you were hurt, and you were kind of just put in that, like, you need to just get over it, suck it up and move forward energy. We don't really have time for this hurt or this time to take the need. So there's a little bit of that, your needs not being met within your family units, of you kind of being the one that goes unnoticed when their needs aren't being met, overlooked. Let me know if you're connecting with that. Is that a pattern that you've seen kind of play forward where your needs are met last? Okay, so you're connecting with that story. So now we're just going to call in universal scalar waves, absolute streams of light. It's just really divine love energy available at all times to us. So we're just going to pull that in, and I want you just to pull that in and through your entire body. Just call in those absolute scalar waves to provide the healing in and through your body, in and through every single auric field layer that this pattern has affected throughout your life, throughout this life, any past lives. or other timelines. And we're going to work really specifically within the second auric field layer, really centered around your emotions. There's a little bit of trapped selves within here, Megan, of disassociating from how you feel, in that almost that fear of not wanting to be disappointed that you're not going to be heard or they're not going to be listened to or valued anyways. So we're just going to provide healing, absolute streams around that energy of we don't have to fear being let down anymore. We're going to acknowledge our emotions rather than disassociating from them. And when we firm up this second auric field layer and heal those tears, there's also pretty legitimate penetrations that have gone through almost every single auric field to get to that one. When we firm that up, people are going to just naturally respond and react to you differently. They're going to listen when you say you feel a certain way. They're going to care that you feel a certain way. So let's just clean up this fear of disappointment pattern. So that's one thing with patterns, and if we go looking for something, we're going to find it. So if we assume we're going to be disappointed or fear that or think that's going to happen, then that's exactly what will happen. So let's just clean up those tears so that you don't have that fear of disappointment anymore within those layers. And that one really looks like an orange color for me. So if you want to just fill up your entire physical body with orange, and then also just spread that orange color out as far as you can, sealing up any tears or holes as it moves. Also, this is super easy. It's being done for you. There's nothing you have to do. Source energy is doing it all for you. And make sure you're breathing through this. Beautiful things about absolute scalar waves and universal streams of grace is that they work for you now, but they also work for you in this moment going forward as well. So they never stop healing, rejuvenating, and cleaning up patterns as soon as you activate them. So over the next couple of days, you're going to really see this clean up and move forward for you in a more balanced and healthy manner. There's a couple of hooks or cords that have been attached more at the fourth auric field layer, which is that relationships, also the emotional boundary. So we're just going to call in more of those absolute streams of grace to free up any of those cords and remove any of the hooks that are hanging out both there and in your spiritual boundary. Kind of living more in your seventh auric field layer, some of those hooks. There's just a little bit of spiritual interference, so we're going to clean that up too. Also releasing any attachment to the storyline that wants aren't something that we should have, that they're greedy, that they're selfish. Wants are absolutely things that we should have, get to have, can have, and get to acknowledge that we have. So we're just going to clean up that storyline a little bit too. Wants and needs are both important. It's not an or statement. They're and statements. We can have both what we need and what we want. It's not selfish to express what we want. Just really keep breathing through that. From a crystal healing aspect, I just want to pull in the energies of Atlantisite. Atlantisite gives in a lot of spiritual connection and also uplifting energy. Atlantisite really connects us in and through the root chakra, the solar plexus, the heart, the crown, and the transpersonals. Atlantisite is one of those beautiful crystals that has both sugilite and serpentine within it. Noble serpentine specifically, which is like healer, I don't know, any healers, that stuff is just amazing to work with. Cleans up a lot of relationship issues that we have as healers too, of being heard and also having our needs met. There's a spiritual interference pattern that's pretty common for healers, that it feels like we are selfish when we have needs or wants that aren't being met, and for us to communicate those. So let's just let that Atlanta side and those universal streams clean up that. And then to kind of close this out too, let's fill our entire body, and also extend it out as far as you can, just white and silver light. It's really affording that cleansing connection of the white light, but also the silver to add in that layer of protection, also the firming of boundaries in your auric fields. Boundaries and auric fields are kind of interchangeable for me. How's that feeling, Megan? Feels pretty good from this end. But then I also want to go ahead and stay in that God spot, and let's activate one or as many personal streams that you need that would serve you best, that's still going to allow for an easy transition into this new way of being. And we're also just kind of going to leave that doorway open so that if more of those personal streams need to activate in the next coming days, we'll go ahead and let them activate in the next coming days, just to keep this transformation really nice and easy. Good, Megan. Can be emotional for sure. Tears are great releases. It's when you can really feel that energy starting to flow and move rather than staying trapped, which can turn into those trapped selves. So it's just freeing those trapped selves, those pieces of you that you've kind of compartmentalized, so that you don't have to tap into a lot of those wants, needs, the disappointments. We don't want to hold on to them. It's so healthy to feel all of the things, but then also to allow them to transition and transform into something new. Just to take a nice deep breath in, exhaling slowly, knowing that at any time you can come back into that God spot to find that peace, that harmony, that joy. Universal streams are available to you always and at any time, anywhere. And when you're ready, Megan, you can come back to the here and now. Let me know how you're doing. If that resonated with anyone else, you guys can feel free to do it as well. You can always come back to this too. And let me just take a look here at the questions. I think there were a couple. Megan, Connor, Renee. Yes, there are tons of chakra courses within Stronger Together. The Chakra Development Revisitation course is one of them. So you could look at that one to start with. That's a good one. There's also Chakra 101 that's available to you at no additional charge as well within the membership. I can drop a couple of these. Morgan, is it normal to not have a label for a feeling? Yeah, I think there are some feelings and emotions that it's hard to describe what they are, but I will say that could also be a blocked access to an emotion as well. I would say, can you feel like on a spectrum of where it's at? Like in present moment. Morgan, tell me more. Tell me more about that. Like, is it foreboding? Is it foreshadowing? Is it higher vibrational? Is it lower vibrational? One way that I get to feelings, because admittedly, as an Enneagram 7, it can be difficult for me to assess my own feelings if it's not really narrow spectrum, rage, anger, grief, sadness, joy. If it's not kind of those general ones, I have to almost pull up a list sometimes to find it for myself. Google is amazing for me to look at just a list of emotions or feelings And then muscle test or pendulum, am I close? Like I can feel the vibration and it doesn't seem low. It just seems chill is the only way I can really label it. Oh, I got it. Okay, Morgan. So when we live in chaotic energies, so when we live in toxic, for lack of a better term, households or energies or relationships, we start to think that that chaos is normal. So when we don't have that chaos, we don't know what to do with calm or peace. So you can almost have that like foreboding that I don't know if this is okay. I don't know if this is safe. I can't pinpoint what I'm feeling, but I don't know how to react in calm. I don't know how to react in peaceful situations. When you come out of volatile situations or you move out of them, you move away from the people or the relationships, that peace and that calm can feel really, really strange. It's not something that you are used to. It's not your norm. When you're used to chaos, that becomes your barometer of baseline and normal. So when you no longer have chaos, what do you have? Yeah. Peace makes me feel like I'm numb. It's a getting used to. It could be a little bit of a blocked access to it, but it's typically more of a not trusting. Like you don't trust it because it's new. It's something different. I would say certainly coming into that God spot, really that center of that heart chakra, Morgan, and asking to connect with peace. Like, what does peace feel like? What should it feel like? That's what I would do, Morgan, is come back to this even. And when I'm walking through, when I walked Megan, how to get into her God spot, go there. But then as soon as you get into it, ask to acknowledge, to feel what peace actually, what that experience is like. Do that and see what that looks like. Feels like, all of those things. Really get a good concept of peace. I would do that so that you start to get a barometer for what peace is. So when you're like, oh, I'm numb, or oh, this feels like nothing, or I just don't trust it, you'll get to where you trust what peace is because you can feel it in that God spot 100 times, 10 out of 10. You'll always be able to feel it there. So go into that space. Megan, I dropped one of them. There's also Chakra 101. There's so many courses in here, you guys, that touch on chakras. Oh, here it is. Intro to Chakras is the other one. You're probably honestly not going to see a course from me that doesn't touch on chakras somewhere. All of my work is super filled with chakras, auric field layers. The shamanic aspects all still work within the chakras for me. But those are the two courses that are included with your Stronger Together membership that I would start with. You could start with either one. It's really not going to matter which one. I don't know what I just posted, but that might not be what I meant to post. Let's see. What is that? Okay, yeah, that was right. So those are the two chakra courses. Let me just scroll up here because I think I got trapped in that explanation. Let me make sure that I didn't miss anything in here. I would say that the Chakra 101, also Janessa's energy healing, excuse me, Intro to Chakras, and Janessa's energy healing. Is it Energy Healing 101, Janessa? Foundations of Energy Healing. Foundations of Energy Healing, both of those courses are really great to start with. So take a look at those two courses, Megan, if you're wanting to jump into it. I would start at those like foundational courses and then work your way up. The Chakra Revisitation is a little bit more in depth. So you're going to have a little bit higher... You're going to want to have a concept of the chakras going into the Chakra Revisitation course. So do that Intro to Chakras first, then move over to the Revisitation. Oh, thank you guys. I feel sometimes like it's hard to follow what I do once in a while, but I've come to find out that a lot of what I do I don't really talk about. For instance, the auric fields. When you guys are talking a lot about where you feel it at in the body, I instantly move out to look at the auric fields and see what's going on within those auric field layers before I move into the chakras, because oftentimes if you clean up the impact point, it automatically cleans up whatever's going on within the physical body, which is where your chakras live. So what you saw me do with Megan Valenti tonight is exactly what we're doing this month in the Stronger Together live sessions, except you get the bonus of both of us doing it at the same time. So you would have both Janessa and I doing those live healings, whatever you're going through, whatever you need support with during that week. That's what we're doing. We're doing individual sessions within that community. So there's no better time than right now to join that, especially if you want that one-on-one support and guidance. I will drop that link for you guys as well into this live if that's of interest for you. We've had a lot of requests to kind of move into that more. We've had a lot of success with both of us working at the same time. A couple of you are live now. If you want to let them know, let the new people know that are joining us tonight how last week was, or what that experience was for each of you. What I found so cool with last week's session is I went back and watched it for myself. And every single person's live session healing, there was a piece of that puzzle that I needed as well for my own journey. And we got a lot of feedback from that, from quite a few people, that was what we really had going on was, you know, even though it wasn't their session or their specific healing content, there was so much healing that came through that too. So that's what we're doing. The next Stronger Together session is next week, the 23rd at 7 p.m. Central Time. So definitely join us there. With joining, you don't just get those 2 live sessions every single month. You also get access to, I believe we're up to 17 courses that are on-demand courses. Do at your own pace. Whenever you want to go back to them, you can. You also have the recordings of every single live session that we have done, along with each of the workshops that we do as well. You have those recordings. So anybody who missed things like that manifestation workshop, get in there, take a look at that part 1 and that part 2, get those manifestation goals going. I promise you that manifestation workshop was like nothing you have ever seen before. So I hope you'll all join us. If you have any questions about the membership or joining, feel free to reach out. You guys can DM me here on Facebook and I'll try to get to them as well. So with that, I'm going to let you all go tonight. If there aren't any other questions, I hope to see you all, though, next week within that Stronger Together community. Megan, I'm so happy that this was helpful, and hopefully these next couple of days are even more amazing for you. Definitely reach out if anything comes up as well. So with that, universal blessings. You guys have an amazing rest of your night. I'll drop the link in the chat to join the community, along with tagging it in the title as well. So universal blessings. Have an amazing rest of your week.